Everybody, welcome to our regular commission meeting for Friday, December 20th here in the commission chambers. We'll start this afternoon with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Back there. All righty. We do not have a consent agenda today, so the first item on our regular agenda is to consider the meeting minutes for December 10th, 2024.
I so move we approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Rod.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Next item this afternoon is to consider a new community risk reduction position for the Fire EMS Department. And we'll have Chief Roberson present.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. Bringing forward a proposal to add an additional position to the organization with the primary responsibility of overseeing a large part of our community risk reduction initiatives to include plans reviews, life safety inspections, public education, et cetera. Sadly, we're at bandwidth maximum with our community risk reduction division, and they're running 10 different ways till sundown with all the new development that's happening, which is a great problem to have. It's just snowballing, and we're not going to be able to keep up. We've actually, in last years, we've been able to complete all of our life safety inspections of all the commercial properties in town. In 2024, we have not been able to get that accomplished simply because of doing other more important time-sensitive things, such as plan reviews and everything like that for the developments that are happening right now. So we're respectfully requesting the addition of one additional position to the organization to help offset some of that workload.
How does, when I was reading through all of that, how does that, and in my ignorance with what the fire marshal does versus what this, is there any similarities or are this completely different?
With regard to this position as opposed to the fire marshal position?
Yeah, because when I was reading it, I thought, doesn't the fire marshal do some of that? But maybe this is this is an addition. Or
It's kind of semantics. We're calling this a community risk reduction specialist position, so that it's a more broad and overarching attack on community risk reduction initiatives, which the fire marshal is responsible for code enforcement, inspections, and investigations. So we've broadened the definition to kind of fall into a fire prevention bureau or a community risk reduction division.
Okay.
Does that kind of help?
Yeah, it sounds
you could
like,
call it a deputy fire marshal if you
Okay.
wanted to. So
Okay.
this position as well.
It helps him to stay more centralized on certain things, where this position sounds like it, with it being broader, is maybe to take things back to him, perhaps, if necessary?
The fire marshal or the division chief of community risk reduction will oversee this position and the responsibilities there within. So it's pretty much going to be their right-hand individual to go out and assist with, plans reviews and walkthroughs and inspections and public education.
Okay.
Are there special education requirements for this type of a role within the organization?
That's a really good question, and it kind of is. Our initial job description really didn't draw out anything specific as far as specific trainings or certifications for that position. Oddly enough, the state statutes and fire codes have this. It's almost like an other duties as assigned clause,
Right.
but it falls under the authority having jurisdiction. They can deem individuals worthy to go out and do inspections and what have you without the certifications to do it. So we really didn't want to paint ourselves into a corner and only be able to draw from a hiring pool of certain certified certificate holding individuals. And so we've left it pretty open, really. Ideally, we'd like to have someone with a bachelor's degree, but that's a preferred. It's not a mandated thing.
Right, so this wouldn't necessarily be a firefighter EMT type of a position specifically. It's more on the administrative side.
Not specifically. So, which is a good question, in that we may have folks that are interested in this position internally. If we do, then I've been working with our HR department to kind of navigate some of those possible turbulent waters that might be around the bend, because we'll need to readjust that job description slightly to incorporate some of those certifications into the education aspects and as well as job duties. Otherwise, then you get into, and help me on this one, Trinity, is that FLSA and benefit package, retirement system issues.
Trinice?
Can you step up to the mic so that and just repeat that real quick so that anybody listening?
Sorry. So yes, if we don't create the job description appropriately, the individual that moves into the role, if they are part of a KPNF, then they could potentially lose their eligibility if we don't ensure that it includes the correct portion amount of job functions that a firefighter EMT should have.
And that's the separate retirement system that
Yes.
firefighter
Yeah.
are in versus capers.
Right. They would have to shift from KPNF to capers.
Correct. And so we didn't want to eliminate internal candidates if they were desirous of doing that. But at the same time, we're not specifically looking for someone with firefighter, paramedic, EMT, investigator, all of those types of certifications, because that starts really narrowing
your pool.
the pool. Correct.
Been any consideration of what the annual salary might be for that? Has there been any consideration what the annual salary might be for that position?
Our initial job description has that listed out as a grade 10, and without looking at the pay scale, we've looked at it. We should be able to be all right based off of recognized savings budgetarily we still have the position, but there's no one in the position currently because they're on an extended military leave. So they're not drawing any benefits right now.
Right.
So we'll have a recognized savings until that person comes back. There might be a small deficit of about $20,000 by year end.
A step 10 or a grade 10 is about $30 an hour is what it starts at.
Can you say that again?
It starts at $30 an hour,
$30?
a grade 10,
Okay.
yes. And the person who's on military leave is at a little higher step than that, or he's lower, but he's been here longer. So his salary will help offset this one. We won't get him hired in January, so we'll have a few months. So it's fortunate that he did have to go because we didn't get it in the budget in time to budget. So this works out well to be able to incorporate it in this year.
So then ongoing, like for 25 and on into the future, is this something, where could the funding come from for this position?
This will have to be added to the 26 budget. He'll have to be another spot. That's why we're coming to you, because anytime we add another staff anywhere, we have to, a staff person, we have to ask your permission because it does increase the budget.
I know engineering kind of gets some reimbursement on permitting, permitting funds engineering. What percentage of this position is related to permitting in and such.
Well,
We're currently not charging
Yeah,
fees for, correct me if I'm wrong, but for
Right.
any of the fire inspections,
Correct.
there is no fee associated with that.
Okay.
correct.
I take it that's just a public safety benefit that
Right.
we offer.
it's a
for-
community service.
Yes. Some cities charge for like a plan review from a fire marshal, but we have not been.
So when we charge fees for inspections, do they get the fire inspection in for nothing and then, or
Well-
should some of that be allocated?
Well, think about the building permit fee.
Yeah,
That's the building permit, for a building permit.
right.
And that's the portion of the project that the fire marshal's reviewing the building plans from a fire perspective. That the building permit fees transfer to the general fund. I mean, they come into the general fund. That's where they go.
Right.
The only other fee that we're talking about, that we have been talking about, are these, like an engineering fee that's reviewing an engineering plan associated with a piece of infrastructure, like a sanitary sewer or a street paving project or a water line.
Yeah.
And that is something that's reviewed by someone in the engineering office.
Okay.
We do recoup a very small amount on recertification of hood systems or alarm systems and those types of other service industries that are recertifying or servicing those suppression or alerting systems. They were members of it's called Brycer, and it's a reporting agency. And anybody that is a professional in that realm, they submit their report to Brycer, and then there's a fee associated with that servicing, and part of that service fee goes to Brycer, which is then sent back to the local jurisdiction.
What I was getting at is, we're going to get really busy. Our fee income should go up considerably for the fees that so it might not help the fire department's budget. It might look like your expenditures went up, but if we have offsetting revenue somewhere, then we're not we may not have to raise the mill levy if our projected revenue from that is higher.
Right.
Since it's all in the general fund, we've never taken the time to break that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it just all goes in there and it
Well, it
supports
doesn't
all
matter
the
at
services.
the end
Right,
of the day.
right.
Yeah.
All those fees I just
Yeah.
talked about all go to the
Right,
general
right.
fund.
Okay.
If I wanted, to that note, if the permitting increases from this increase in development is sustained in the general fund, then this position will be paid through that. If assessed valuation continues to go up, we could capture some of that increase to pay for this position.
Yeah.
So all the trend seems to be going up, the sales tax increase, that the trend seems to be going in a positive direction to help offset this increase. Now, that being said, if we don't have wiggle room to absorb the position within the fire department, so if chief doesn't have a lot of room to decrease his budget to absorb this position, then there may be, more than likely, an increase in his budget next year, and hopefully that is offset by the additional revenue we get. So it's sort of up in the air. We feel confident, at least in the next year, of how revenues come. It's the following year that we're like, we don't know where we'll be.
Is there a way to use a consulted person for this, a contracted person for this, until we truly see what the need becomes over the next 12 months before we make it a permanent position?
I'm not aware of anyone out there, or, I mean, I haven't done a lot of research to find out if there are even those resources available to contract with.
I will tell you that this is speaking just about building inspections, obtaining building inspectors is very difficult. A lot of the smaller cities, as you know, they have reached out to us in the past, and we've tried to provide services when it worked for them. We used to do those same building inspection services for Halstead and Sedgwick, and they chose to not utilize us several years ago, and they hired a person that's doing it in 3 different cities. But it's up and down as to whether they have somebody contracted, because it's very difficult to find people that are have that skill set, and that probably correlates similarly to that position. But
Well,
And I think there's a very huge unrecognized value in having our own personnel doing these inspections and going through and doing plans reviews and walkthroughs and meeting the public. In reality, they're the face of the department. And so they're getting into these buildings, they're meeting customers along the way, and the good thing is they're able to get into them before they're full of smoke.
Right. That was what was called a prompting question.
Gotcha.
And, these types of positions also, we want somebody that fits with our culture, that isn't just, a gun for hire that's going out there and punching a clock to knock out a task. We want them to follow our processes, our procedure, and be part of our community. Those communities that are able to outsource it aren't on the cusp of the development that we are. So there's quite a bit of difference there.
With the growth we're projecting, are there any other positions that you might foresee that might pop into the budget or need to pop into the budget next year?
you mean from the inspection side of things?
Yeah, your
Yeah.
activity's getting ready to go.
Yeah,
forward.
honestly, we're just watching that to see. It's we talk about this a lot in the budgeting process, that it's a crystal ball kind of thing.
Yeah.
You never know. And a lot of times the work, it cycles up and down. You may have one really big year, and then the next year you're catching up, and then the next year's big. And we added a building inspector here a year and a half, 2 years ago now, that we are so glad we have right now, because we're having to split people going here and there. And just a lot of things that are being reviewed right now that I know the fire marshal is involved in as well. So
Okay.
We'll continue to have discussions about that, and may bring things to you in the budgeting process. And we have some retirements that are going to be occurring, and as we see those happen, it just depends who's able to fill the gaps.
Okay.
I'm sure we've done the exercise to try and remove some of that administrative overhead off of the fire marshal, so that they're where they need to be, and that noise is being handled by other staff.
We're certainly attempting to, but it's a global thing. Everybody is pretty much reaching bandwidth maximum.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Well, Mayor, I could see where we need this position, and I really think our revenue's going to be to the point to where it's not going to be as big a deal as we think. So I would make the motion that we accept this proposal by staff and hire this person and let the development begin.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Next item this afternoon is Hillside Paving. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, you have before you consideration of plans and specifications for Hillside Avenue from East 1st to Southeast 12th. We've been talking about this, well, for, 11, 12 years now. We've had plans that we had to dust off and get ready. We had plans that were completed, but as time changes and things are built along the roadway, we had to update the plans, but we're ready now to put the project out to bid, remembering, and you can kind of see on the screen, this piece of roadway is the boundary between on the east, if you will, there at Hillside, where we have city on one side and county on the other side. And you did ask us when we talked about this last time to go to the county to see if they would be willing to contribute financially towards the project. And Mayor Stinnett and the city manager, Daniela, and I all went to the county on the 10th. And then I went back this week because they tabled the item and they chose not to fund a portion of the project. And that was a 2-to-1 vote at the county commission level. And we have submitted at least 4 times for cost share grants with the state, remembering that when the state looks at projects, they're looking at the development in the area. And so looking at GAF, they kind of look at the whole package of what they've provided based on this new development. And they did provide a rail grant. We will be building the rail to the site, remember? And so they have elected not to fund this project. There's a lot of competition for those cost share grants. And we have already built a lot of roadway up to this site. So with GAF coming in, and they are under construction now, but they're expecting when they are fully functional, they're going to have anywhere from 150 to 300 trucks in and out of their facility per day. Now, some of those are going to come and go to the south, but there's going to be some that are going to come and go to the north. They'll have 130 employees. They'll be coming back and forth to that site. And then, of course, there are 2 additional 42-acre industrial sites to the north of this location as well that we know the property owner is actively marketing to build additional items there as well. This is kind of one of those projects we knew we were going to have to push off the bubble at some point, and I think we're here. We have the plans and specifications ready. We will send those out for bid the first of the year, and then have a bid opening January 30th. We're going to talk on one of the projects on down the agenda here where we did receive bids. This is a great time of year. If you're going to bid a project, this is the time to do it because then we can get in on people's schedules early, and we have a lot of competition, which helps drive the price down. So I think this is the time to do it. If we're going to move forward, we need to move forward now. And if you remember, we are going to be reconstructing Spencer next year also. That will start in the spring. And we will carry traffic through construction. It'll be southbound on Spencer, so we'll have 1 lane open southbound. And then our plan is to do Hillside and have it one lane going northbound so that you can get in and out of this area. And construction would begin late spring, early summer on this piece. This is currently a dirt road, and we will be paving it. It'll be concrete to industrial standards. It'll have wide ditches on this, very similar to what Southeast 12th looks like today.
So we're totally funding this?
Yes, we are funding at 100%. And so we have a funding resolution that's in the packet as well, and this is included in your CIP. And we did plan that we would be that we would have this in our capital improvement program. We just expected that we would be paying a lesser portion of it. We were hoping that we would be able to get a grant. And that's always good to hope, just sometimes that doesn't come through. And so the project would be paid, we would bond the project, and then the annual debt service payments for the project would be funded through the Economic Development Fund, because this is an improvement that we are building because of new businesses that are coming in. And if you are in agreement, then we would ask that you would consider the approval of plans and specifications, set the bid date as presented, and approve the funding resolution.
Currently, we have the Sand Creek Restoration Project that is debt service is being paid from the Eco-Devo Fund, about $310,000 a year, and that falls off in '28. And I figure we'll be bonding this maybe in '26, and this is going to be about $322,000 a year. So we'll have a couple of years where we'll have a little duplicate payment, but then that'll fall off and continue.
Okay.
So we should be fine with that.
Good.
Okay.
Ain't going to get any cheaper.
No, it's not.
I would then make the motion to consider to approve these plans and specs and set a bid date as presented.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion carries. All righty. Next item is to discuss future roadway improvements.
We need the resolution.
We need a
Oh,
resolution, please.
number, sorry.
It's not working, so it's resolution I-1215.
I move we approve I-1215.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All righty. Now, item 4, to discuss future roadway improvements on East First, Spencer to Hillside. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, you can see on the aerial that we have on the screen, and I provided you some information in the packet. Really, I just wanting you to discuss this today, just have a little discussion about it. You may not want to take action on this. I just wanted you to start thinking about this. We are starting to do some development outside of the area where we already have infrastructure plans ready for especially street improvements. And with Hillsborough Industries coming in on East First Street, just on the east side of Prairie View, and maybe Rebecca can point that out on the screen. So they're right at that location that you see on the cursor on the screen. They're just well, they are the edge of the city limits at that location. And then if you can think in your mind about the intersection of First and Spencer, we just recently put a new signal in at that location because there we have Quick Trip as well. Our airport is beginning to definitely grow, and we have other businesses that have purchased lots out adjacent to the airport at the corner of East First and Oliver. The roadway along East First Street from Spencer to Oliver, I believe I said in the packet that they are 13-foot lanes. I believe they're really only 12-foot lanes. I said 26-foot wide. I believe it's really only 24-foot wide. That's pretty narrow when you have a lot of traffic moving along that area. And we're going to have additional traffic with Hillsborough Industries coming in. Prairie View's looking at some development in their area as well. We already have 3,400 vehicles per day on this piece of roadway. And we have, remember, over 400 jobs out at the airport, and the bulk of those are coming in to the airport area on East First Street. So there's plenty of traffic moving along this area. There's also a 70-acre lot on the south east corner of First and Hillside, and Rebecca can maybe point that one out. Southeast corner of First and Hillside. So it would, First and Hillside, just on up a little bit, up. So where Hillside's going to come in, sorry, I don't have Hillside labeled on the map, but at any rate, there's a 70-acre tract there, and that one is available for development. Mr. Rubelli owns that tract of ground, and he is actively marketing that. So we kind of need to discuss, are we going to move forward with some improvements? Because this is narrow roadway. It has some, these are not wide flat bottom ditches. These are kind of some steep angled ditches on this. And this is not typically in a city area, your roadways, you want to have them a little bit wider. They're either going to be curb and gutter, or you're going to have a little bit of a shoulder on it. You know, we just are doing some improvements to Hillside, so we need to look at, are we going to do some improvements along here? And when you approved a development agreement with Hillsborough Industries, we agreed that we were going to look at a turn lane that would go in at that location. Currently, they just are having new drive entrances put on, but we, when talking with Hillsborough Industries, we talked with them about pursuing a project that would be between the city and the county moving forward. And in some of our staff meetings that we've had with the county staff, we've talked about looking for grants that we could partner on to do some improvements to this piece of roadway. And it might behoove us, because this Hillside project is the last project that we have in the hopper that is a set of plans that's shovel ready. And so it might be smart for us to move forward and put out a request for proposal to engineering firms to do do a design project, bring us some concepts and some estimates that we would review. And then we'd bring something to you saying, hey, this is the way we think we need to move forward, talk with the county, see if they're willing to partner with us on this improvement project. And we could phase it. We could do 2 different phases. The first phase being from Spencer to Hillside, the second from Hillside onto Oliver. And as development occurs throughout, just look at when phase 2 might come in. Get it plugged into. Once we have a design done, we'll have a better, more detailed estimate that we can plug into the CIP and be able to move forward. And then we'll also have a set of plans ready so we can start applying for grants that might be applicable. I've already done a lot of looking for that right now, and the problem is a lot of these federal grants that are coming through those bill funds, they are usually needing to be a very big project. And I mean, multi-millions. This is, the Hillside, Spencer to Hillside piece is probably going to fall in the $4 to $5 million range is my guess. But these typically have to be over $10 million. And so if we were looking at from Spencer all the way to Oliver, I'm not saying that we have local funds that we maybe want to do for a project like that right now. But if somebody was to come in, there's a 70-acre lot there at the corner of Oliver, First and Oliver, that the city still owns that is available for purchase. If somebody would come in there and purchase that lot and be ready to develop, then we might start looking at, hey, is this next piece worth moving forward? But having the design ready sometimes is good to have that ready to go. So you're not waiting on it if you do have development. But again, there's cost associated with that. And then we'd be looking at, okay, how are we going to pay for the design costs? Now, design costs, we don't have to move forward with a funding resolution when we get ready to do design. When you're going to bond a project, it's okay if you've moved forward with your design first. The law allows that, and we kind of carry those projects in project accounting, and Donna can talk about that a little bit.
Usually, if you're going to bond something, you have to get that bonding resolution in place, or you can't bond anything that happened before, except for design. They allow that to happen because you never know for sure when you're going to want to bond it, so we can always pull that in.
Okay.
Or we could pay for it out of economic development funds itself. And some of the lands we've sold and stuff might need to come back that money and pay for some of what we're getting ready for these people that are coming in. So we could do
Suzanne,
some
what
of
do you
that funds.
estimate the costs will be for the engineering design?
Oh, I had that. I'm not 100% sure, Leroy.
Just
But
a rough estimate, I know.
I would
you don't
say
know.
very roughly, we would be looking, you're going to look at somewhere around 20 to 22% of the cost of construction. And if you're looking at a $4 million project for the first phase, so 22% of that approximately. Just, that's ballparky. And if we sent, what we would typically do on a project like this is we would put out a request for proposals, ask for that from engineering firms. We'd go through a review process, we'd select somebody, and then at that point, we would negotiate a price on the project for the design work. And you don't need to make this decision today, but I thought it was time for us to start discussing it.
Sure. We've talked about it in the past
Yes.
a little. So,
But if you feel comfortable and you want us to move forward, then you could take action to just direct staff to go ahead and go through the RFP process.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Moving forward with an RFP process, having it ready on the shelf to pull out and actually bid, how would we pay for phase 1 of that project? Let's say we streamline it and it's a go.
Yeah.
And in 2024 or 2025, sorry, 2025, we decide, yeah, this is the route we need to be. Can we high level talk about how potentially
Sure.
we could fund something like that?
Yes, and it would be worth mentioning that design on a project like this is going to take at least 8 to 12 months. And there may be some right-of-way, because remember, it's not all city along here and all platted, where during the platting process is when they provide the right-of-way for the roadways, so we may have to acquire some right-of-way as well. So that process is going to take a little while. How would we pay for the construction improvements? Well, it could be, like I said, we could look for grants. There's no guarantees when you're looking for grants, but we can look for grants. We can, like we discussed, we could ask the county if they're interested in participating. We also would look at city-at-large dollars that are going to be paid out of debt service fund. We could look at, as development comes in, we could say, hey, you're going to generate additional traffic. We would like you to help participate in the project for the paving project. Or we could look at any combination of that, or we could look at economic development funds paying for a portion of it as well. So there's several different options and several different, percentages could come from any of those pots, if you will.
Suzanne, I'm just thinking ahead at this, turning lanes. Do you have to have some kind of design for that, or do we just do that ourselves? Would it help to have a design to have that incorporated into it? Or?
Well, that's why we're looking at this project, because in talking with Hillsborough Industries, they said, look, we're not in a big rush for need on that. We were saying from staff standpoint, and they said, yes, we will have a lot of traffic coming in and out. I think it's going to become a safety issue. And there's some safety issues when you only have 2 lanes and you have no shoulders, and you're going to have a lot of people slowing down to make turns. So putting in turn lanes is going to be important. But think about when you're adding a turn lane, you're basically widening this roadway. And so you end up looking like, a python snake that swallowed a rat. It comes down and then it widens out and goes back. And if you're going to make that kind of improvement, which is going to require you moving the drainage as well, perhaps it's time that we look at the full piece from Spencer all the way, because if you look at economies of scale, it's less expensive to do a larger piece than it is a smaller one. And that's why we were saying we weren't going to go ahead with the turn lanes at this time. We kind of wanted to incorporate that into a larger project. And that's a discussion that myself and our current city manager, past city managers have had with county executive staff as well.
Do you think that this would be something that, like future businesses that want to come in, I mean, do they look at like the roadways and things like that? And I mean, I'm sure they take
Sure.
all that into
It's part of it.
consideration.
Yes, that's
So it could-
part of
it
it.
could be
Accessibility.
Almost like, I want to use the word an amenity, but,
Yes, absolutely.
okay.
It's considered a benefit to them, and it's always something that is looked at when Beth comes and she brings a prospect to town. They are coming to specifically look at the infrastructure that's in place. It's no different than when you're buying a house and everybody says location, location, location. Well, when you're getting ready to put a business somewhere, you really are looking at the location and the surrounding infrastructure and how that's going to be good or bad for your business.
Okay.
The other thing that I think I mentioned it in the cover memo, but I haven't talked about it here this morning. Maybe I didn't, but I thought I did. There's also a lot of bicycle traffic along this piece of East First Street. And without shoulders, that's tricky, a little bit dangerous. And you know that bicycles are traveling through our community. We are on that transcontinental bike route. And so making it wider here would definitely be a benefit for that as well.
Where are we at on our debt ceiling? Are we,
We're good.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, for a while, we thought we was going to get close with the library, but we're back up in the teens, millions of dollars
Good.
that we can get.
Yeah, I would have a hard time doing it in 2 phases myself, if we're going to bond it and pay for it over time anyway. It's always going to be cheaper to do it all at one time.
But today, you don't need an approval on that.
No.
Ideally, maybe directing staff to look into the design project, and then,
Yeah, if you want us to move forward, then what we will do, and if you could say, please have staff move forward with the RFP process, and that's what we'll do. And then we'll bring back to you, once we get through that process, an engineering agreement for you to consider.
Will semis be able to use that?
to
that
you,
roadway, like semis, will they be able to use that?
they use it
They
today,
use it
but
today.
All
because
the way
there's
out
going to
to
be a lot of turning
Cassidy.
movements that are going to occur there with Hillsborough Industries, that's definitely going to slow traffic down.
It definitely can make things safer,
Yes,
or,
that would be the goal.
yeah.
Is by widening, is what you're describing, you're going to be adding one more lane so that there'll be 3 lanes, or what? Share with us what
Yeah,
you think.
that's my thought.
Yeah.
Definitely, we would be asking whatever firm is going to do the work to give us our options, and let's consider those. And then we'll bring something back to you. I think that's something that should be considered here. Maybe it doesn't get considered on the whole piece, but definitely on the piece from Spencer to Hillside, I think we need to look at 3 lanes for sure.
Do you just want our head shakes, or do you want us, do you want a motion for us to approve?
If, it would be great if you would make a motion to direct staff to begin the RFP process and bring something back to you. I won't bring the whole proposal
It's not the whole
package.
project. It's
I'm just going to
the-
bring back an
Sure.
engineering firm after we've went through the
Correct.
process, unless you want me to do otherwise.
Okay. Well, I would so move that without repeating.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I motion we approve the First Street Spencer to Hillside project.
So we have an existing motion to direct staff to go ahead and pull that RFP. Is your a second to that motion?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Suzanne, you're not off the hook yet, so.
Okay, we got one more here. We had a bid opening on December 17th. This is for Quail Creek Drive. You can see on the screen, it's for this small piece of Quail Creek, not Drive, Avenue, Quail Creek Avenue that is east of Kansas. We had 7 bidders that provided bids for this project this week, and we got some really good bids. The low bid is from Prado Construction at $211,224. Remember, this project is a part of the Occidental development, and we need to move forward with the project. This was in our development agreement with them, and we have McDonald's coming on the north side of where this roadway would be. So staff would recommend that you award bids to Prado for the dollar amount that I have just stated.
Okay.
I move that we approve the low bidder for this project.
Second.
We have a motion in a couple of seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. That
Thank
motion
you.
carries. Thank you, Suzanne. Chris, you're up. Status update on the Harvey County tax foreclosure auction.
Sure. And as you recall, at our last meeting, city staff asked for authority to bid on a property located on Southwest 14th because it had a certain number of specials on it, upwards of $100,000. Presented a resolution, city commission provided that authority. City staff did go bid on the property, had a winning bid of $5,000. Pursuant to state law, we're only responsible for the back taxes, so that's about $1,500. So the city's now in the process of obtaining sheriff's title to that property. It's really just an informational update. I think at future meetings, we're going to want to discuss the ultimate plan for that property, and then also a plan for, all properties that come to tax foreclosure auction, what the city commission's attitude is in terms of letting the market kind of figure it out and let those hands, or whether we are more interested in controlling all of these properties. I think this was an easier call because of the amount of specials, but some of those that have, environmental, maybe $1,500 or $1,000 in mowing, up to $9,000 or $10,000 in demolition, whether the city wants to actively acquire those and maybe utilize the land bank or other avenues. So this is just an informational report, let you know what happened at the auction, and city has title. We can't obtain title insurance for another year. There's like a waiting period, so we've got that calendared for next year should we sell the property to a new buyer. I would stand for any questions on that one.
And you said title next year?
We'll have title, but it's not, the title company will not issue title insurance until a transaction that occurs a year after, so a subsequent buyer.
Right. Anything else? Do we need to receive that report?
No actions
All right,
necessary.
thank you. Anything else for Chris on that? If not, we'll go ahead and move to the next item for the Planning Commission. Chris?
Sure. This is a property at 704 East 12th, owned by Mirror. They applied for a zoning change. It was an R3. They asked to go to a PO, which is more of a commercial designation. The surrounding property that they own is already a PO. You had a public hearing held by the Planning Commission. They approved this zoning change unanimously, so it would be two-part. One would be to receive that recommendation, and should you agree, you would adopt an ordinance that would effectuate the zoning change. Those maps do show a crossover beyond the line, but that's just switching over the systems, I believe. Those zoning designations would line up with the property lines, so just if there's any confusion on those maps. I would stand for any questions on this, as would other staff. The area that's labeled R3 there to the west, that's a separate owner, but then obviously everything else that's in pink and then in the green box would be owned by Mirror.
I have a question for the owner's representative of kind of what your plan is for this area.
Jason Grieber speaking on behalf of Mirror, I'm the Vice President of Treatment Services. So we own some houses that are right there. We have our residential treatment center back behind. What we're wanting to do is create office space in those buildings so that clients can visit with their clinicians in a better space.
Okay.
Seems like a natural fit.
Right. Thank you. All righty. Well, I would go ahead and call for a motion to receive the recommendation from the Newton Area Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, that carries.
I move we approve ordinance number
5161-24.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
And we have a second as well. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
There was none.
Okay. So, all righty. Well, before we adjourn, we'll go ahead and go around the horn. Kathy, would you like to go first?
Sure. I would just say Christmas is just right around the corner, so all I want to do is wish our listeners and wish all of you here a real blessed Christmas time. I know Merry Christmas too, but I hope you have a blessed Christmas time.
I hope you have a very happy Christmas time too, and all the staff and the whole world.
Daniela?
I just want to thank staff for such a great and wonderful year. It really was, and I hope you get some time off to celebrate with your families and take a little break because January 2nd is around the corner.
Yeah.
Just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
Thank you for the discussion on East First Street. I think we're probably going to have more of those kind of discussions moving forward because we're starting to get to the boundaries of a lot of our master plans and just going to need to talk about where we're headed as a city. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
No, sir, thank you.
Rebecca? Denise?
Merry Christmas to all.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Awesome. Anything, Denise? No. The esteemed back row? I'd just like to say Mayor Cry put out his year in review. If you haven't seen it, go check out Facebook and everything. Some really wise words. Thank you, sir, for that. If you travel this year, please be safe. Come back to us safe. And with